Hi, you. It's me, Nicole Phoenix Star, and this is the Nick Star podcast. I wrote a post the other day about those that fail do so because they quit. And I notice so often that, people start things and then don't feel as if they're achieving their goals fast enough, or the illusion of their goals rather, and they quit. And they think either it's not for me, or it didn't work for me, or, whatever the response is. And what I've realized in life is the long game is the most ultimate way of the unimaginable coming about. And, we live in this world of kind of instant gratification and being able to get things really quickly through technology, and not realizing that extraordinary results come from just showing up over and over and over again. And being able to show up for yourself is the most kindest form of self-love there is. And the more you show up for you, the more something feels different inside you. It's like you can trust yourself. It's like you don't let yourself down anymore. And things just seem to automatically happen, and you get this sense of getting results in all areas of your life. And I see it in those that work with me in, wellness, health goals, fitness goals. And I see it with those that are trying to start a meditation practice or any part of their life. I work with people in so many very different areas, and the common thread is this sense of actually being able to trust yourself because you don't quit. And there is this fine blurry line where it's so appropriate to pivot, or what felt like a really good idea is actually not a fit and not in alignment. And that really confuses people because they're like, oh, it wasn't for me, so I stopped doing it. But deep, 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 deep down, you do know, you absolutely know. And it's so worth just getting into the habit of continuing to show up for yourself. And I've got some people in a wellness journey right now that are being impeccable with the guidance and the instruction. And they're getting massive results, and it's blowing their minds. But most of all, it's showing them that they can actually follow through, and they're actually showing up for the first time to themselves in their life in a way that they never have before. And that's the biggest piece. Like, yes, they're feeling better, and yes, they're losing weight because that was their aspiration, but they're feeling different inside themselves because they haven't quit. And that's the biggest part, the biggest feedback. For years and years and years, I've just given people who've wanted to learn to meditate, the guidance of just sitting every day and lying down if you have to while you get sit fit, as I call it, while your hips are aching and your knees are aching and your back's hurting and your shoulders are screaming. Just keep showing up, and one day you'll find yourself being able to sit there for an extraordinary amount of time, and then everything melts away. It's fascinating watching my son Leo navigate life, where he's been exposed to this guidance from me his whole life, and he does have this reputation of having extraordinary patience spans for a child, which is funny to view from where I sit, because this is who he is. And I realized, sitting back a bit further and observing that that's what he's been exposed to and supported in and encouraged, and he truly knows that everything lines up in divine time. Like, there, no matter how much he would like it to happen today or even yesterday, that there's no attachment to that, because that's not what the alignment is, and everything always lines up exactly how it's supposed to. And quite often it's nothing like we think, and most of the time it's very little like we think, and that's because our minds are very narrow. For someone like him that has been living that way his whole life, he just appears very patient. But what he is he's knows that life lines up exactly how it's supposed to. And that's what I call letting life live through you. And I just feel really happy for him that he isn't attached to any timelines and doesn't have any expectations on things, or wishing things to be very different to whatever they are and however they line up. And I think that's all humans aspire to, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. And that's exactly what my message is today, is just keep showing up, and you'll get absolute clarity when it's not in alignment, where you're trying to force something and it's just, not life unfolding. It's this big, fat, clunky mess of you trying to force something that isn't in alignment. But when you just show up every single day, every single moment, it's indescribable. People go, oh, I'm in flow. And it's like, you're just riding the waves of life. It's not a state to try and be in. It can be like that all the time. And that's what we call the awakened realization state, is riding those waves and knowing that there's going to be storms and knowing there's going to be sunshine, and it's not meant to be any different. It's absolutely not. And it really, really is as simple as showing up to one thing every day for yourself. And that ripples through and trickles through all areas of your life. You just need to practice. But what happens is the greatest thing, which is having your own back and trusting yourself, and that is something that you can't get outside of yourself. It's something that you can't express until you actually do it and stay with it. I remember when I first started meditating and I hadn't sat cross-legged since high school for any regularity, and oh my God, my hips and knees were like screamers. And I just showed up for 10 minutes every day. And I realized I could sit there for quite a long time. And then again, I've never not been able to sit cross-legged for a really long time since. Life is easier when you can trust yourself. Life is easier when you're not in self-betrayal. Life is easier to handle in the hardest of times when you know that you'll keep showing up. Your word becomes impeccable. And people know that your word's impeccable, and that's a whole different realm of reality. Navigating life where people know your word is impeccable is truly extraordinary. Unwavering, because your ability to show up to yourself is completely unwavering. And when you need to rest, you rest. And when you need to pivot, you simply pivot. And there is no question. And that takes time. It does happen. And it's fascinating, like I'm actually feeling really quite wiped out and run down today. So I was going to get up and I had all these plans, and I just pivoted back to my bed. I've just been chilling most of the morning, but knowing after I've fed myself with consistent micronutrients that I always do, I gave myself a little bit of a extra support with a protein drink. That I would never not record this podcast. I would never not do it. Obviously, if I was really unwell or whatever, then I would just show up when it was appropriate. But I rested and I nourished myself and I nurtured myself. I picked up my phone and I was ready to record. I never ever let myself down, and that is the most unbelievable knowing to have with yourself. Like, to not have any experience of self-betrayal for a really long time is just a level of kindness that's indescribable. There's no guilt, there's no shame to navigate. There's no heaviness, there's no disappointment. Ever. Can you imagine? I'm so grateful to myself that I invested so much of my discipline into showing up for myself every single day in meditation, in nourishment, in kindness. Because I get to live like this, where I know I will never, ever, ever, ever betray myself ever again. And that is the greatest blessing and greatest offering I could give myself. And it starts with simply showing up and not making excuses and not listening to your mind and not listening to the ego throwing up all this story, because it does, it will. Just observe it. Look how cute it is for being so creative. And just keep showing up, and then it becomes normal. It becomes your operating system. There's never a question. There's never trying to. There's never hoping to. You just simply do. It's like anything. So there we go. What I wanted to share today. Thank you for listening. If you feel that anyone may get any benefit from this, please share my podcast. And my website is www.nickstar.com.au. NIKSTARR. Blessings. Thank you. Bye.